Let's talk about the communication process. Number one, there's a communicator. Number two, there's words spoken. And number three, there are receivers and listeners. Communicators, words spoken, and receivers. The communication process. Let's talk about the communicators. The communicators have these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 things as they communicate. Before they communicate and as they communicate, the communicator harbors these things. The communicator harbors truths, thoughts, theories, temperaments, vocal and body tones, and triggers. Give you time to write that down. Communicators hold, before or as they're speaking, truths, thoughts, theories, temperaments, vocal and body tone, and triggers. Let's talk about truths. As a person is communicating a concern, an expectation, a need, or a want, or something random to some degree, that person is communicating from a place of truths. I put truth and truths. The truth is the truth. And the Bible says the truth will set you free. But not too many people live their life off the truth of God and the truth of His Word. They live life off their truths. What's true to them. Relativism. I think that's the term you use. They communicate from what's true to them. If your truths are not rooted in the truth of God, then those truths are not really true. But when a person communicates, they communicate it from a place of truths. This is what's true to me. This is my perspective on this. This is the way I feel about this. And before you communicate anything, you got to make sure your truths are anchored in the truth of God and the truth of His Word. Because so many people are communicating from a place that don't have no root in God, no root in the personality or characteristics that Christ wants you to have in your life. It's anchored in what was passed down from generation to generation, what's passed down throughout culture, what's given and deposited through social media. Many people's truths are not anchored in the truth of God. And many people, when they communicate, they're communicating from an angle of truths. This is what's true to me. But if it ain't true to God, you could be causing confusion to the receiver because you're coming from a place of truth that may not be anchored in God's truth. Now, there are some truths that's true. Like, yo, I was there. I saw this. I seen this. I noticed this. That's what I'm talking about. We're talking about the internal, deep down in your heart, truths, values, standards, convictions, truths, thoughts. As a person is communicating, those words are coming from preconceived thought patterns, that the path of their words is followed by or pushed by previous thoughts. That's why you can't entertain every thought. You got to cast down vain imaginations before you speak out vain words. Before you give out vain words, you got to make sure you cast out. Before you speak any word, you got to make sure those words are valid. And those words become valid when you have processed those words and put into shackles words that don't deserve the thoughts that don't deserve to be there. But so many people communicate from thoughts that ain't even true. We've been there. You heard someone say something about someone, about you, and all of a sudden now you got resentment against that person. And then when you actually communicate with that person said, I never said it. You can't entertain everything that's been spoken to you. You can't entertain everything that you feel or think is going on. You got to make sure you're man enough and woman enough to communicate with that person. So many people allow lies to be spoken to them, and they begin to make that thing a truth. And those things begin to build thought habits and patterns against another person when that thing ain't even been true. There's so many people that look at me and they think I'm a certain way, but they never came to my face. I never respect a man or a woman who can talk behind my back or entertain lies, but are unwilling to communicate face to face with me and say, Josh, this is how I feel about you. This is what I've heard about you. Most people are not man enough and woman enough to come to your face and communicate honestly about how they feel or how they've been thinking. And so many people, they wait until they allow their hearts to become so heated, and then they want to, or so hardened. So many people wait till they'll hear a lie about you or they'll hear something about you, and they'll allow their heart to become either too heated or too hard towards you. And then 5, 6, 8 months later, they come to you talking, I heard this about you, and you look at them and say it ain't even true. It happens in relationships because he looks a certain kind of way, because he moves a certain kind of way, or she picked up her phone this way. All of a sudden now your thoughts go in a frenzy, and now you begin to damn her. All of a sudden now you begin to make him guilty, and there's no evidence of guilt. We can't get into a place where we allow thoughts to determine how we think about a person without having the guts and being a man or a woman to actually go speak to them and communicate, to make sure before my heart gets heated and before my heart gets hard, I got to make sure that the words that I heard about you or the things that I'm thinking about you is true. But so many people communicate from preconceived thoughts that's not even true. You're not supposed to entertain every thought, because if you entertain every thought, you're going to allow yourself, then you're going to be entertaining those thoughts, and then you're going to be engaging outward from those thoughts, and you may be causing a wedge or a hedge in your relationship that was never meant to be there. Communicators, as they communicate, they're communicating from a place of truths. They're communicating from thoughts. They're also communicating from theories. Theories can kind of go with truths. Theories that are not even made valid yet. That's why you hear things about the theory of gravity, the theory of whatever. They're theories. They haven't been proven scientifically to be true. And so many people get so caught up in theories. Well, I heard this. This is how I calculate this. This is how I process this. But if your mind hasn't been pruned by God, you will begin to develop theories that's not even true for relationships. Theories, this is how relationships should go. This is how marriage should go. This is how theories, these are theories, they haven't been proven. Do not entertain anything that hasn't been proven in your mind. So many people are entertaining things mentally, emotionally, physically, relationally, and they haven't been proven to be true. They're just theories. It looks like it makes sense. I heard this from a pastor. I read this in an article. My grandmama told me about this, but it was theories. Has it been proven to be true for you? But so many people communicated from theories that have been passed down. Traditional theories. Theories that have been given through quote-unquote experts. Just because someone have a DR before their name doesn't mean they're really able to do surgery. Does not mean they're really able to help you. Just because a person has degree after degree, just because a person knows this person, that person, just because a person looks the part, doesn't mean they can actually fix the parts. But so many people, they communicate from theories. Temperaments. Most of these things produce a temperament. So many people communicate when it's too hot to communicate. Their temperament is off. I think this way about you. You came against my truths. You're doing things that's tinkering around my theories, and now I have a temperament. Now I got an emotional feeling about you. Now I'm upset, and now I'm approaching you upset. Never approach a person upset. Sometimes you got to make sure you go away and make sure you cool things off. Make sure that you taste the words first. Make sure that you don't go off, because it's very embarrassing to have this emotional expression. When after you have expressed how you emotionally feel, that person gives you the facts that proves you were incorrect. So many people have the wrong temperament in their communications. Next, vocal and body tones kind of go with temperaments. You got to watch your tone when you communicate. Some people just communicate and they're like, that's just how I sound. But if you're a New Yorker coming to the South and you sound how you sound, you're going to offend people. Or if you go to New York and you go certain places, you don't know how to talk to the people, you're going to offend them. You got to make sure you communicate in a tone that's tailored to your receiver. But so many people are like, hey man, this is how I sound, this is how I'm going to speak, this is how I'm going to talk, and there's nothing you can do about it because it's fan up. This is what I'm going to do. This is my tone, this is how I speak, this is my body language. You crossing your arms, you got your back towards them. You got to understand, no matter who you're talking to, every person is made in the image of God, and they deserve dignity and they deserve respect. And if you're not in a respectful place, then it's probably not the best time for you to communicate. But so many people want to communicate disrespectfully. Their tone is different. They talking down. That's why, men, you got to make sure that you're not talking loud to women. They're not going to be able to take loudness. They can't take yelling. And ladies, you got to make sure you don't talk down to a man. When a woman feels that she's being yelled at, or a man feels like he's being talked down to, that person ain't going to receive what you're saying. You got to make sure your vocal and your body tone is correct. If it's not correct, then go correct it and then come back to the conversation to add some value to it. You also got to make sure that you communicating what you that your body is not conflicting your words. You giving sexual body communications, but your words not matching your body, and now you're throwing the person off. He thinking that you like him, or you being flirtatious. Your body tone is giving off one expression, but your words is giving off another. But when that person asks you out on a date, all of a sudden you're looking at them confused, but you've been expressing in a tone, in a temperament, in body tone, and in a tone that's confusing the other person. It goes to every angle of life. You got to just observe, how do I communicate with people? Is my tone too, let me study my region. Let me look at the people that I'm around. How does my niece receive it? How does my nephew receive it? How does my wife receive it? How does my siblings receive it? How does my mom receive it? How does my dad? Everybody, when I'm around, when I'm around certain kids, I know I can be louder with other kids, but I know that there's certain kids, you don't know, if you know their background, the more you know, the better you can communicate. But people not willing to get to know. They just want to communicate how they feel. And then they set themselves up to kill their relationships. Sometimes your feel kills. Sometimes what you feel kills. And you got to make sure that you know how to, through the fruit of the Spirit, know how to operate in your self-control. Next is triggers. Some people communicate from their triggers. They're reactive. You say something to me, I'm just triggering. If I think this, I'm triggering. I'm trigger fingers. I'm just clapping back. I don't care about the clatter. You trigger me and I'm going off. Man, you can't just be easily triggered. Be very careful who handles you, because whoever handles you will be able to pull the trigger of you. And so many people are giving our lives in the hands of people that when they push you in a certain way, you shooting off. Do not allow people too high of a place in your life where they dictate how you express your feelings. There shouldn't be no one on this planet, to a degree, that should make you come out of character. There shouldn't be. You can't allow people. Now, you're going to have bad days, don't get me wrong. But when you come out of character, you got to correct that quickly. Do not give people the power to get you out of character. Do not give people the power to get you out of character. Stay you. Stay in your character traits. Do not allow people to flood you into your previous character flaws, and now you're expressing in a way that embarrasses the call that you've been called, embarrasses the Christ who has called you, and embarrasses your commitment and your faithfulness or whatever you're doing. It's best to get your emotions under control now, so that the only person that's holding you is the Holy Spirit of God, and you only shoot with words that are anointed, and your bullets are not hollow, but they're heavy with the word of God. But whoever handles you knows how to pull your trigger. Make sure it's the Spirit of God holding you, so that when it's time for you to shoot, you shoot things that fits the occasion, that's good for the building up, etc. Let's keep going. Number 2. Words spoken. When the words have been spoken, there's 3 things that's happening as that word is spoken. Intentional meaning, real meaning, received meaning. Intentional meaning, real meaning, received meaning. Intentional meaning means, this is what I intended to say. You know what I'm saying? These were my intentions. But sometimes those intentions are intensified with emotions. The intentional meaning. Sometimes when you're upset and you're angry, or you're frustrated, disappointed, or you're excited and happy, you begin to speak in a way that may be sporadic, that may be out there, and you had good intentions, it just came out wrong. And when a word comes out, those words have real meanings. So you had an intentional meaning. You just got to make sure your intended words matches to their realest meaning, so that when a person hears it, they actually understand what you're saying. Intentional meaning is, like I said, you intended, you had great intentions, but it was delivered wrong, or it was delivered right, but that person received it wrong. Next is the real meaning. Every word has real meanings. You got to make sure how people really receive them. That's why it's best to make sure you communicate clear, concise words, and you can only do that from a calm place. And when you're chaotic and emotional, erratic, overly prideful, those words come out with real meaning. And next, received meaning. The receiver received it, but it was hot. It was confusing. It wasn't clear. So when a communicator communicates, they got to make sure their words, their intended words, are really real, and in their realness is tailored to the receiver. Let's keep going. 3, the receiver. The receiver of words or listener, they also have triggers. You have to be mindful that people have triggers too. And as you speak in these words, you got to make sure that you're not triggering on purpose. Now, I say on purpose. Now, there's going to be some situations where you say things and you're not held responsible how people receive. Not everybody's going to receive good words or convicting words correctly. That's why I preach the way I preach, because I'm like, hey, the word of God is going to fall on whatever ground your heart is. And I'm not responsible to a degree how every word comes out. I am responsible how words come out, but I'm not always responsible by how words receive. If I know that I gave it in truth and in love. But if I give it out and it's not, and it's on purpose to trigger you, I'm in the wrong. You got to know your receiver of your words has triggers. Also, they also have theories. You know your receiver got theories as well. They got thoughts as well. They have a temperament as well. They have truths as well. You got to make sure you communicate keeping those things in mind. And as a listener, you got to make sure you know, man, I'm going to communicate when I feel triggered. I'm going to let you finish, but after you finish, I'm going to communicate. Those kind of words trigger me. Those kind of words make me feel a certain type of way. Those words offend me. Those words hurt me. Also, you got to make sure as a receiver, as a listener, that you also see, could my theories be wrong? You also got to be mindful as a receiver. I'm not going to allow my thoughts to run before I take time to listen to their words. Sometimes we allow our thoughts to come and try to solve the problem or try to rebuttal their need or concern, and versus just letting our mind be at ease and be intentionally involved in listening. I got to make sure I control my temperament as a receiver of words, and also the giver of words. You got to make sure that people have a temperament. If you know for a fact that, hey, he's not in a good mood, she's not in a good mood, people be like, I just got to say how I feel. I'm going to say when I say it. No, it ain't about saying what you mean. It's not about saying what you want to say when you say it, because the best words are received when they're receivable. Words are best received when they're receivable. You got to be smart enough to say, you know what? He's tired. He's tired. He's hungry. She's frustrated. She just got off work. I'm not going to communicate this right now, because I know her temperament is not in a receivable position. I know his temperament is not in a receivable position. Also, your receiver has truths. They have values, they have standards and convictions. And when you tiptoe around those things and you nudge those things, or you punch those things, or you jab at those things, that person may spit out as well. Let's keep going. There are 3 kinds of words.